Hi. So funny, the only voice I hear standing up here is my mother's, and she's saying, always wear a slip. But I think I'm okay today. Do you remember where you were when you had your big idea? When it came to you, what you were going to spend a lot of your time and energy on? I do. It was not that many years ago, and it was in the middle of the kind of economic downturn, and I saw an industry that I was really at my peak plummeting, like so many people did. And I didn't see a future in it. And a girlfriend of mine had recently closed the doors to her boutique, somebody I had had a lot of respect for, written about a number of different times. And we were together. We were in a restaurant, and we were just, she had actually had to give her key to the landlord. And so we were just kind of helping each other through that time. And as so many good ideas seem to come into this world, ours came in over a few glasses of wine and maybe a cognac following that moment. At a time that people were really being tight with money and there was not a lot to go around. Whoops. Let's see. Get the hang of this. We decided to create something so expensive and exclusive and limited in nature that our audience was very small and very far away from us and possibly on the other end of the world from us. But that's kind of our big idea. But we decided to do it because we just wanted to do something beautiful. We just wanted to make something. Every time you turn on the TV, every time you heard the radio, it was just bad news. It was just sour. And so we thought, let's just do something that nobody can say one thing about other than that this is incredibly beautiful. We decided to do windows. And we said, well, while we're at it, let's just pick maybe one of the best windows in Atlanta and let's approach them. So we approached Jeffrey Boutique with a sketch and with an idea and imagination and a lot of nerve, I think, and told them we wanted to do their windows, not realizing that they have visual directors, and we thought we'd really come up with something new. And after about a month of sitting on the idea, they said, okay, girls, we're going to let you do it. And we said, okay, we're going to do it in paper, and it's going to be handmade, and we're going to do paper wigs. And so that is what we did, and kind of what we came up with. Now, when they told us, yes, you can do this, and I just want to make sure, I don't see any time here running, so I might go on, but I wouldn't want to sit up. Okay. When they said yes, they said, okay, Amy, Nikki, if you're going to do this, you're going to need to do the New York windows too. At that moment, I said, we may have something here, because I know the power of press, and I'll tell you why in a minute. When they said that, we got busy doing both windows, and after the install in New York, we did just one thing. We made sure that we took pictures. And we made sure we had a simple, very simple website, the same website, paper-cut project that we have today. But knowing the power of press, I did one thing after that. I contacted 4 bloggers, and I gave them 3 sentences and a picture. And I said, here's what we've done. If it interests you, it seems to be a nice fit for your audience, I'd love for you to consider this idea. Does anyone want to take a stab at the first person to call us after one of those blogs ran the story, the pictures that we gave them? Hermes, Paris, and they commissioned 30 pieces. After that, Kate Spade called us. Every time we did an installation, it wasn't that often, but every time we did reach out and we just let editors know, hey, here's what we did. If you like it, it seems to be a good fit for your audience, please share. We didn't have a dime of advertising, and we weren't really trying to make a business out of it, but we did understand that for our audience to find us, we needed somebody to share, and specifically, whatever our audience was reading, that's who we needed sharing our work, because maybe somebody else would know what to do with us, paper wig making ladies. So Cartier, Christie's, the Victoria and Albert Museum, All are clients of ours now. And we live in Athens, Georgia, me, and here in Atlanta. That's the power of press that I know, and that's what I kind of want to share with you today, because I know so many of you have great ideas, and you may feel like, well, how do I share that? How do I get these influencers to share what I do? I know something about this because I have been in magazines for 20 years. That's me in the halls of Sassy Magazine, and probably you're all too young to remember that one. But a very game-changing magazine for women. I went on to be an editor-at-large for many of the top magazines in the country, both in fashion and shelter magazines. But my vantage was that I was not in New York. I was here I was an editor-at-large, and I was in your spaces. I was in your boutique. I was coming to meet you and telling your story. And that feels really good when an editor comes to you and says, I really like what you're doing. I'm going to write about you. And since I'm writing for 15 different magazines, I might write about you 3 or 4 times. That feels good when I'm writing about you. But what happens when Amy moves on to you? You say, I need more of that, because that was good for business, but I just do not know how to approach Amy. And I don't feel confident doing that. And over the 20 years of my writing, I heard that over and over and over. So I wrote a book about it. I moved on from magazines. I wrote this book that you all have in your bag, Recipe for Press. And it's how to approach editors from an editor's point of view. Because the editors don't talk, they talk among each other, but they don't really share with you what we need and what we don't. And what I saw time and again was people spending more money than they needed to, just working so hard to deliver things that undermined their pitch, that we really didn't need, and that kind of signaled that you weren't quite ready. So what I've tried to do is really simplify that approach. This is somebody who I've never met before, got the book. She has, second to Paper Wigs, probably the hardest sell to an editor. She makes custom illustrations and sticks them on Hershey's Kisses. But she got the book, and she sent me that picture because she got her first piece of press, and that's it. It was in the Hamptons magazine, top left corner. What happened after that? The same thing that always happens, that I see happen again and again, domino effect. Because editors scout magazines for stories. They don't mind talking about the same thing. They're just going to find a different angle to tell. And what happened to this young woman who makes illustrations for stationery and party events and everything was that an editor from the Today Show saw it and thought, hey, I know, that's great for my $50 and under. And that company went from not having a dime to really spend in advertising to being on the Today Show in front of 6 million people. Now, not every piece of press is going to generate that kind of attention, but what you need as social entrepreneurs, you need attention, you need a low hum of press all the time. And you will have to put a little bit of work into getting that. But it's not as much as you think. You don't need a publicist to do it unless you really could afford a good one. And even then, you would need to be developing a communications team to create relationships with these editors and these bloggers, because they will come back to you again and again if you are easy to work with, if you're lovely, and if you are prepared for them. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. But my particular vantage that I think might help you figure out, well, how do I get in these magazines? I see these pages and I see people like me doing things that I do, and I feel like I should be in there. The quickest way is to consider yourself the editor. Pretend you're the one pulling together those pages. This is how an editor hears your story. Do we want the whole story? No, we don't want the whole story. We don't want the whole story. We only, and this is very, very important to hear, an editor, a blogger, a writer only wants the part of your story that matters to the pages they write. So that helps you right there focus really quickly. Any good editor or writer can make your story belong in about 10 different magazines, all variety, from men's magazines to garden to travel. It's just how you pitch the idea. 5 habits of people who get press quickly. So much of this is in the book, but I feel like I want to point on some of the key pieces here. The time to pitch a holiday story is not when you hear Christmas music in the shopping mall. Because editors for national magazines wrote the holiday pages, the December issue, when you were on the beach back in July. Understanding the editorial calendar. Now, I did do one thing. I had a woman come to my seminar, and she came to another one, and she finally came up to me and said, Amy, I've got it. But now what I need is something to help me remember when and what to pitch. So I did create a product called a pitch wheel. It's on my website, Recipe for Press. And it's an old-fashioned little informational wheel that shows you if we're here in August, then national editors are pulling together January pages, regional editors are pulling together October pages, and on the back is kind of a prompt because these formulas for these pages are very predictable. We know that in April, most magazines are going to be writing their green issue. So we might tailor our pitch just slightly more leaning to that if you found a natural angle to go in that way. So these are prompts on the back of that. Editorial calendar. The masthead. This is a page from our book. How do you find these people? How do you find these editors? Well, let me just tell you that Google is a really great way to find editors because they now all really have websites, and no one editor or writer is writing for one magazine anymore. They're writing for a magazine. They're writing for about 5 blogs on the side, so it's a really good way to familiarize yourself with what the right editor or the right person is doing. But I did want to give you one tip here. The person to pitch at a magazine, and the masthead is the key card to all of the people who pull together those pages, is not the editor-in-chief. And more than likely, your best point of entry, I did say this would be practical, and I'm very resourceful, so your point of entry into most magazines are those first pages. They're called front of book. Assistant editors write those pages. Assistant editors are the gatekeeper to senior editors. Assistant editors will become senior editors. And you want to create relationships with these people and not blow them off because you can't get to the senior editor. You want to create relationships because they will take you when they move to the next magazine. They'll take your story and they'll write about you again. And you'll approach them again with another great idea. And you will have that relationship that's going to produce a lot more than one story. Editors scout Instagram. 90% of my interns become editors. And I was with one recently, and she said 2 key things to me. And this is very hard to say as a writer, but I'm going to say it. Assume editors don't read your pitch. So we're going to talk about what that means. And it has something to do with the pictures. And editors scout Instagram. That's their social media of choice. They're finding new products, so follow these editors on Instagram. Don't stalk them, but follow them and be genuinely, happy or engaged if it makes sense. The power of new. The easiest time in the world to get press is when you are new. That's what magazines and blogs run on. It's what fuels these publications. But say what happens when you're not new anymore? You need to present it. You need to present your story as new. Say you're a boutique and you've been there for a while, but suddenly you have a number of different boutiques moving in around you. You pitch the story and other people in it as a roundup. You were a pioneering boutique in a neighborhood for up-and-coming designers. Attach it to some current event or color. Weather is new enough to create an idea to make sense for current pages. There's a whole chapter on this. The biggest complaint that editors will make or tell me when we're talking about this is that people approach them and never read the publication before they pitched. And we have a nose for that. So take a time to do the work up front, to read a few pages, to scan through the blog to see if you have a product, do they even cover products, or do they just cover profiles, or do they just write about people and not cover products? That goes a long way to getting their attention. If I could walk in here and only say one word today, I would say photography. These are good product shots. Product shots mean floating against white. Budgets have been slashed at magazines. Bloggers aren't going to send a photographer to take pictures. If I am faced with two great products and one comes to me, or two great stories, one comes to me with images that I can use at a national publication, this is the truth, and another comes to me with a great story and no images to go along with it, every time I'm going to use the one that comes to me with images, because we just don't have the budget anymore to call in product to send photographer. How many of you have a great picture of yourself? Because you may be the story. And we go to your website and look at that About page, and we don't want to see a picture of you. Now, I'm talking clearly from an editor's point of view. I don't want to see a picture of you at 3 years old, like it's so trendy, because I'm trying to see, are you a good fit for my demographic? And I don't want to ask you what you look like either, you know? So I just want to see if it's good for my audience. The people who continue to just make sure they have updated pictures, press-worthy pictures, they're written about often, because we go to those people who we know have those pictures ready for us, because we are on such tight deadlines. So remember, you may be the story. Editors and bloggers who write about people, go to those people who look like they're press ready, and that means having a picture on your blog or your website that looks like it already belongs in the pages. You write. This is somebody who came to my workshop last year. She had a great product made from honey from her bees, but she was just bedazzled, and she didn't match her product. She got a great shot that was a little more natural, and in a year, on her own, she landed features in 12 or 13 major publications. Half of them were profiles. A third of those used the pictures that she provided. Same thing with this young lady here. She had great product, came to me. She didn't have a good picture of herself. Clearly, she's a beautiful woman. She pitched after getting this pitch together. She landed Country Living Entrepreneur of the Year. They never visited her. They only went on the email that she provided in the pitch and the pictures that she presented, and they used her pictures, and they used it for a book, and they used it for future articles. And that piece of press produced collaborations with Delta, collaborations with boutique hotels. It really changed her career, and that's the power of press, and that's why I'm suggesting use it. It's free to you. It's there if you can get it. Editors need new. They need you to come to them if they can't find you, and most of them are stuck in their desks, really working with publicists or scouting blogs as a marketplace or waiting for good pitches. Okay, I've got just a few seconds. I just want to leave you with these lasting ideas. There are so many great ideas that never see any time on these pages. So if we don't come to you, come to us. So many so-so things get all the press because they're easy to work with, because they know how to pitch, and that pitch just looks like an email, no attachment, the image embedded directly in there. That's all we need. We don't need press kits. We don't need a lot of fluff. We need consistency, follow-up. We need you to be lovely, understanding when it doesn't work out, and we need relationships, because we go back to those people time and again who are easy to work with. And I'm going to leave you on one last note. Sometimes, and this is really important to hear, sometimes the very best pitch is not your story. It's giving an editor something that you know is right for them, that you know will be good for somebody else. Sometimes that's the very best thing you can do. The rest is in the book. So thank you so much for having me. I hope it helps.